welcome to Scrappin with Sheri. I have had lots of questions lately since I mentioned that I wanted to start printing my pictures myself, and I'm not an expert on digital. I'm not an expert on photo printing. There are a lot of things I don't know, except I do know what I like and what I don't like. Now, somebody asked me just recently, what kind of paper do you use to print your photos on? And I will tell you, I don't have the package of it, but I was using the Amazon Basics 4x6 and 5x7 paper, and I liked it. It's kind of a semi-gloss, and I was very pleased with it, but lately it has not been in stock, and I'm a little impatient. So at a crop, I mentioned that to a friend, and she gave me a few sheets of this to try out. This is from Red River Paper. This is an Ultra Pro Satin. This printed beautifully. Now, I have not looked at the pricing on it yet, but I was very, very happy with the way this printed. Red River Paper, and you can go to redriver.com and look that up if you want to. I had already ordered some other papers at the time she gave me a few sheets of this to try. So, I have been trying this Canon matte photo paper because I don't necessarily love glossy pictures. And these pictures were printed on this matte photo paper. Now, let me just tell you, in printing on the matte, I do feel like the pictures are a little dull. I'm okay with that for our vacation pictures, at least some of them. So, I will continue to use this because I can't return it. I've already used part of it. But it was a really good value, and it is matte. My next step will be to use this Epson glossy paper. And a lot of times I read that if you use the paper that's from the same company as your printers, you will probably be happier with the results. I have not tried this Epson Glossy yet, but I will try it, and hopefully I'll remember to let you know that in the video when I do. But that's my next step. I have found all of these on Amazon. I'm not looking for the priciest paper. I just want something that looks good when I put it in my scrapbook. So, I hope that helps some of you who have questions about this. I'm going to be showing you what I did in just a minute. But I wanted to show you quickly how I've laid out the album for our next trip, the one that we just took in September of 2024. I'm using this older album. It was a fall album, I think, maybe in 2023. But I thought it was pretty, and since we went kind of in the fall, I felt like it would be a good way to use this album because I've had it in storage for a while. So you saw me do this title page, and I've already stuck it on. But I went through this album and went day by day with my photos and wrote out, okay, we went to the Heisey Museum on this day, so I want 2 pages of that. Okay, we saw the Longer Burger. I want just 1 page of that. I want 1 page of some of these extras around town. So I went through and I just put what we did and how many pages it was going to be. Now, the canal boat, you saw me do that on a pre-designed page. I did find tickets for that when I was going through my paperwork the other day. And I haven't stuck those yet, but they'll go there. So I already have my pages in my book, and I've written what's going to go on each page to kind of keep me on track. It also helps me know, okay, when I get through, I'm going to have a couple of extra pages at the end of this, or I need to add a couple more pages. But if I can stay on track with this, I can get this whole trip in 1 album. And that's sort of my goal this time, is to get this whole trip in 1 album. Now, the page we're doing today, I've kind of done it backwards for you because this is where I really start, I think, when I am getting ready to do a video. And that is to decide what pictures and how they fit the sketch. So our sketch for today is page 92. And obviously mine doesn't fit the sketch at all because look, they've got 4 pictures on this page. That does not work for me in the least. But what I'm looking at is all the photos are lower. There's a title here. But then there's this design across the top with a border. How easy is that? So I went ahead and printed my pictures. Now I did print 2 on this sheet. I printed 2 on this sheet. And this was a cabinet, and then this was an up close of something in the cabinet. So in doing that on the same sheet, you just draw attention to it a little bit more. This is the Heisey Glass Museum. This is in Ohio, Newark, Ohio. And my husband has collected this glassware for years and years and years before he ever knew me. So he was really excited, and this is what we did for his birthday. Now, when I'm looking at the layout of this, what I was really trying to do was to keep my pictures on the lower half so I can do the design on the upper. Now, this one just did not fit anywhere, so it's going to kind of go on at the end. But this is what I do in my head or on my desk before I ever start a video, and that's to go ahead and start thinking about, okay, how do my pictures fit into this sketch? So I've done that part. The next thing we're going to do is cut these little strips across the top, and it calls for a 3x4. Now, I can tell you I'm probably not going to have room for a 3x4, but let's lay out a piece of paper. This is not the paper I'm going to be using, just so you know. But in my head, I kind of know how big a 4x6 is. I kind of know how big a 12x12 sheet is. Do I always get it exact? Obviously not. You see me on the videos when I don't. But if I lay these out onto a piece of paper, I see my width is a little bit too much. I'm not seeing much spacing between my photos. I'll be okay with that. I'll have to be. It shows me how much space I have at the top here. And because this one has so many more photos, that's going to be where we start is, okay, how much space do we have to play with at the top? So I'm going to grab my ruler for that. And when I'm looking at this, if I put my 0 there, I really only have a couple of inches here that I can play with. So I'm going to make all of my little pieces up here be 3 inches wide, so I can fit 4 of those across, but only 2 inches deep rather than they're 4 inches deep. And to do that, I pulled some papers that kind of matched the museum. They had some beautiful stained glass that I really love. These are the doors, and then they had the stained glass window that have that blue and red. So I felt like these would be good colors to use. And I just like this. This is an old mat I had. I think it was from my farm collection, actually. Old paper, old paper, but it's got some blues and it's got the red in it. So that ties all of those together. And then a blue dotted and a red striped. So all I've got to do is make these 3 by 2. And because this is a double page, I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of all of these. Now, I know when you're looking at that, you're probably thinking, you got a lot more space there. You could go a lot lower. Well, remember there's a border, and I have an idea for that border. So I'm cutting all of these 3 by 2. Normally, I would not cut this and cut off this border stripe, but I've had this paper forever. It's kind of folded on the edge. Really old paper. And I'm just kind of ready to get rid of it. So all of these are 3 by 2s. And I'm cutting these on my new photo trimmer, which is also great for paper. Love the sizing of it. Now, part of my plan in doing this page too was the fact that I wanted to get a lot of pictures on this page. And by printing those myself, I was definitely able to do that. And I'm really, really happy about that. I really didn't want this to go to 4 pages. Although my husband would have been fine with it. We even had a little brochure, and I looked at pulling that into here, but the brochure really only showed you around the museum. It didn't tell anything about what we saw. So he and I agreed that the brochure was not necessary for the scrapbook. All right, so we've got all of those rectangles cut. So the next thing I'm going to do in my thinking process is figure out the background paper, what I'm going to do with that. Now, when I'm looking for a background, most of you know I do not do solid backgrounds. I don't typically like just a solid cardstock behind my pictures. So I was glancing through some paper packs the other day, trying to sort them into colors because I've used up lots of the paper packs. And I came across this paper. This was from an advisor collection called Welcoming Wood Blocks. And I thought it was really appropriate. It's got these starbursts that kind of make me think of all this pretty cut glass. It's also got this golden colored background, which pulls out some of the colors that are in the photos. This is not normally a favorite color of mine at all. So I just want you to know this is not a color I pick very often. Now you're going to see I had started using this for another layout, a fold over page layout. And this corner is kind of bad, but we're going to cover it anyway. So I decided this would be okay. So because I've decided to use this paper, I'm going to start transferring my pictures from one side to the other. Now when I laid these out, obviously I don't want the two blues together and the two reds together. I want those to be separated a little bit. And I'm going to do something like that. So if I were working on my desk without you watching me, I would have laid those pictures down just like I did on my desk. Then I would have started pulling the papers, pulling the backgrounds, and then I just transfer it onto my piece of paper, just straight across. And I kind of get my page laid out according to what I like. And then I'm going to pull my pictures across. And then this piece I had them laying on earlier is out. And then I'll kind of do the same on this side. I'll just go back and I'll put my design on here. I'm going to tell you, if you're not buying whole collections and using those mats that are in the collections, you are really missing out. The mats are perfect. They're usually, the designs are usually a little bit different than what you see in the papers, which is fun to me because you've got that extra variety, especially for little things like this. They're good for journaling. They're good for actually matting your photos. They're just great. But they're a really fun decorative element that I feel like a lot of people are missing out on because they just think, oh, I don't do journaling. I don't want those mats. But boy, you can use them for so many things. I know that I'm going to need some journaling space here. And you know, this one didn't fit down here. I wasn't going to try to force it into fitting down here. So once I get the other border up here, that one will go on probably about like that. So let's look at the border that I'm going to use underneath. And if you need a reminder on the sketch, here we are. We've done these little pieces. We didn't do them the full length because we wanted more photos at the bottom. So the only other thing I really have to add is my border right there. It calls for a title here. I felt like this could suffice as my title. Although in the journaling, I will put that this was his birthday. This is what he wanted to do because he's always collected this glass. I did tell a couple of my children one day, okay, if anything happens to Dad and me, you need to donate all this glass to this museum because they love it and they do a great job with it. Now, the border that I chose to go on this is this diamond mosaic. This was actually an incentive freebie. Let me show you what it looks like and make sure I got the name right. Mosaic diamond. I said it backwards. This was actually an incentive, I think, maybe in 2023, where if you purchased a certain amount, you got this free. And I felt like it was perfect because it has that diamond that is the high Z symbol. It also has all these little pieces that look like all this cut glass. So that felt perfect to me. I'm doing it on navy, which pulls our navy out of here. And in case you have forgotten how to do the border maker system, I just want to punch one of them for you. I've already punched one, but I want to do one more. I know that when you're new to the Border Maker system, you forget sometimes exactly how to do it. But you've got this blue tray underneath. You pull it out. You slide your paper to the lip. There's a raised edge on this tray. And then close it. These magnetics stick together, and that's what holds your paper in place. And then you're going to slide your paper into this hole. And there are grooves down there that you can feel. And you just slide your Border Maker housing along as you punch in those grooves. And that's a really quick version of it, but with practice, that becomes so easy. But you got to practice. Now, this is not a cartridge that comes off the paper. This is not a chain style. It stays attached. And for me, what I discovered was if I take this edge of the paper and slide it over to the end of the gray cutting strip, that seems to give me a pretty good border, pretty uniform top to bottom. I like the look of that. So even with all this extra stuff you didn't ask for today, this page is coming together pretty quickly. So when we put that down, I love the way this picks up the diamonds here, the diamonds in the hazy stuff, but I don't love that yellowy color showing through there. I feel like we need a distinction. So we're going to pull something to go behind that. And we could go a lot of different ways. We could just pull white behind there. We could pull a silver to make it look a little more sparkly. So let me grab something and let's see what we want to do. All right, so the borders are laid down. I grabbed a piece of white. If I put that here, that's kind of the look we're going to get. Not bad, a little stark. I did find some scraps that I had of a metallic silver. And quite honestly, this is one of those pages where I think we could go either way. Let me cut this down real quick so I can get the full effect of the white. Sure did love it that I had those exactly laying there. But I think I may like the white better. I wish right now that I could hear your comments and you could say, oh yeah, I like the white, or oh no, not the white, do the silver. I think the white actually looks a lot better, especially with the white in there. Although I sure did want to use that silver. So let's cut one more of those. And if you're playing with that mosaic, diamond mosaic, whatever it is, about an inch will go behind it exactly. Now, if I were feeling really industrious today, what I would do probably is go back and make this look like cut glass and cut different colors to go behind different pieces of this. I'm not feeling that today. So we're just going to use our repositionable tape, stick these babies together, and move on with this page. Some of you would do that, and I can tell you it's going to take a lot longer to do that, but the effect would be stunning. So if that's how you enjoy scrapbooking, please take your time and do that. Some days, if I were not really busy, I would do exactly the same thing. So a lot of how I scrapbook depends on the day and what I've got going on otherwise. And I'm just going to stick this below what we've already done. If you'll remember, I had this ugly triangle here where I had folded that before. We've effectively got that covered up. And we're going to stick this white on. And aside from taping the pictures down and a little bit of journaling, we're going to be done with this page. All right. I love the look of that. I love how it all just kind of fits together. That I'm probably going to slide way over here to the side. It'll cover up my red, but that's not a big deal. So let's stick these pictures down. Again, this matte paper, I don't love it at all. I think the pictures are just a little bit dull. probably should have reprinted them, but I didn't. And you will see that I am overlapping one photo over the other. I didn't have to have everything in both pictures, but I did want a little bit of the glass, specifically because this Greek key is the pattern that we have collected together. And you're noticing the back of my pictures have a little something on them. It's because when I printed, I got my paper, I didn't insert it well enough, and my paper ended up cutting off the borders on one part of each photo. So I had to go back and add that in. And I used the back of other old photos to add my white border. And I hope that makes sense. So these pages are going to be so full. And for most of you, that's probably not your style. You probably don't like that very much. I'm okay on some pages with that. Some pages I really want some extra space. But for this particular one, I'm all right. Now, by the time I journal on there, you're not even going to be able to tell that this color was behind there. So I guess it's good it was a messed up piece of paper anyway, right? I didn't really leave any extra space. This side is going to have some space, so you'll be able to see the paper behind it. Here again, I had cut off part of the border, so I had to go back and add it on. But I do like seeing a little bit of the yellow, gold, whatever you call it, on this side. I'm going to slide that one down just a little bit. And here again, when I was printing these photos, he's standing right here beside this punch bowl and the molds they used to make that punch bowl. That was really fun because we have that punch bowl. And that happened to be the mold they had on display. So I took a closer up of the mold, which is this one right here. And I wanted to include in our journaling that we were very excited about that because that is the one we have. We also have some of the glassware that's this particular pattern. So I made a photo of it with the name of it because we didn't really know the name. I can go lots of different directions with this. And I think I'm going to slide it on down and overlap just the corner of this picture a little bit. That still leaves me a little red showing at the top. This is going right off the edge of my page. But aside from journaling, this one's complete. The hardest part about some of these places is there are no embellishments that really go with it. But I'll find some words and I'll stick those on. I'll do a little journaling here, a little bit of journaling right there. And you'll see the finished product at the end of the video. But let me show you one more quick tip that I've learned. You know, I do the power layout boxes sometimes. But for this particular trip, I wanted to make sure that I'm getting everything in there that needs to be in there. And I'm not ending up with 2 or 3 albums of this trip. So one thing that we did was we went to the Lucy and Desi Museum. I love Lucille Ball. And we went to their museum in Jamestown, New York. Well, I'm looking for some paper for something else. I ran across this. So I just think I'll slide that piece of paper in there. So when I get to this page, I know that I've got that paper ready to use. So as you're doing these layouts like this, it's easy enough to slide in things that you know you need to use. And then when you get there, you don't have to spend the time thinking about, oh, what did I intend to use? Did I have some paper in mind for that? Go ahead and throw it in there. If you don't use it when you get there, it's not a big deal. I mean, you can change your mind. You see me do it every video. But it may give you a starting place. And it may just spur you to think of other things that you've got that would work with that particular stuff. There's already some sticky on the back of that. So we can pop these tickets in here. I know this video has been a mumbo jumbo of ideas, tips, tricks. I've run out of tape, so we'll use repositionable. But I hope you learned something today. Just a little something that will help you in your scrapbook journey. That was page 92 that we did today. Pretty similar. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.